Hello everyone. Here, Financial Modeling World Cup will lead an interview with Diarmuid Early, the champion of Financial Modeling World Cup season 2021. He got a lot of points here. The very first place, he was the leader almost all of the time for the season 2021. And now we want to speak up to him to find out what he's eating to get to the very top. Diarmuid Early is the founder and director of his own consulting firm, Early Days Consulting. He's former director at Deutsche Bank, former CFA chart holder. He's a computer science Ph.D. He's completely different from what he's doing right now, but probably the set of mind helps him to get through those FMWC challenges. He's the World Financial Modeling Champion in 2014, and he's the finalist for most of the years of the previous Financial Modeling World Championship. As many people call him the Excel Cyborg. Tim, hi Tim, how are you today?
I'm very well, thanks. Thanks for having me, Max.
Very nice. It's nice to have you here. I assume that you're like most experienced, more than 15 years, I guess, in financial modeling. You have started your career at Boston Consulting Group and then completed Deutsche Bank. Probably very good references from those from your early working places. But really, where you started doing your financial modeling, where you started to advance, how it all started back then.
So, well, I guess none of my early jobs was a sort of classical financial modeling kind of like, valuations or any, investment banking kind of role like that. At BCG, as an associate straight out of university, you work on kind of all kinds of different things. You're usually there a few years before you specialize. And so, I got thrown into lots of different things. I wouldn't say I learned a whole lot about financial modeling per se, but I learned a lot about making Excel do strange and unexpected things.
Okay.
And yeah, it's, when I was there, I was in London. It was a relatively small office at the time. And so, after a little while there, I got a reputation as, the guy who could solve weird Excel problems. And so, whenever I had a free minute, or often when I didn't, people would come by my desk and be like, hey, I'm trying to get it. I'm trying to get this thing. I'm trying to get this to do that or whatever. And so, by the time I left, I sort of had almost a clinic running every Friday when I was in the office, and, have a string of people coming by and asking me lots of weird questions, and, spend enough time trying to figure out lots of different weird questions, and before long, you know how to do a lot of stuff.
So that was mainly trial and error?
Yeah, a lot of trial and error, a lot of Googling. I still Google all the time when I'm trying to do something, because, there's just so many people using Excel around the world. There's almost certainly someone who's tried whatever you're trying right now, or something pretty similar to it. Yeah, a lot of experimenting.
That's nice. And then at the end of the day, I think it pays off, because most of people know you as one of the greatest financial modelers. Dim, probably you've been asked this multiple times, but how would you suggest training to become number one? Is it like sleepless nights, or it's God's arm and then God's gift?
I think practice is the biggest thing. And I think specifically sort of, deliberate practice, in the sense of, trying something, finding out relatively quickly whether you got it right, where you went wrong, that kind of thing. It's why I've always, for years, I've pointed people to the model-off problems and the FMWC problems as a really good way to train, because I think generally you'll learn a lot more from, spending a few hours doing a series of problems like that, where, you spend half an hour, 40 minutes, or an hour on it, and then you check your answers and you find out what you got wrong, and you compare versus the solution model and you find out where it went wrong. You get a tight feedback loop versus, you spend weeks and weeks and weeks working on and building a big complicated financial model, but some senior person is probably going to do some sense checks on that, but nobody is going to rebuild the entire model line by line and tell you if you got every single piece right. And so, the time to get feedback is much slower, and it's not as kind of precise. So yeah, I think that's kind of the best way to learn, is just deliberate practice, short feedback loops, and repeat.
Practice makes it perfect, right?
Exactly.
How do you think participation in the FMWC contributes your professional career and or developing as a financial modeler?
I mean, honestly, at this point, I mostly just still do it for fun, because at some point you pass the point of diminishing returns to your career. But early on, in two things. One is just, like I said, that practice cycle. Like I became a much better financial modeler through many years of trying this and getting lots of feedback. And obviously it also helped to kind of raise my profile a lot in the early stages of my career, which now makes it easier to find business. And you also just meet some very interesting people through it.
Yeah, sure. That's nice. I hope everyone would be able to participate in the FMWC just for fun. But probably some people are just want to also advance and learn some new things. Last year, the FMWC launched a new kind of direction of Excel modeling called Excel as Esports, and there were in total 3 battles, 2 in which you took part in, Battle of 16 and FMWC Open. You actually won Battle of 16 battle, which is also nice. And the battles itself were quite well perceived by the audience, gathering hundreds of thousands of people watching it. And the idea of people working daily on different tasks, including financial modeling, data analysis, data crunching, mining, visualization, many more, now is brought to competitive arena. Like, for you as a financial modeler, do you find any parallels between competitive Excel and competitive financial modeling?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of similarities. I think the big thing is, it's always such a time crunch, and I think there's people who haven't done it kind of imagine that as you gotta type furiously, be the fastest. I think it's not so much about that, but the big thing for both the financial model and the kind of non-traditional problem solving, whatever you want to call it, is if you've got 20 minutes or an hour or 2 hours to solve some unreasonably large problem, if you can come up with a smart design, that a smart approach, like what's the right way to think about this, do I want to have this in rows or columns, do I want to build this by years or by generations, do I want to build a quarterly or an annual model, what am I going to need to do to be able to answer these questions? Like, if you can come up with a good design quickly that you will be able to build out, then that's a big competitive advantage, because usually executing on a good design isn't that time consuming. And if someone showed you a problem and gave you, like any one of these problems, showed like any good professional quality financial modeler one of these problems and gave them a week to think about it, and then gave them whatever the allotted 30 minutes or 60 minutes to do it, I don't think they'd have any trouble doing it, because once you have that kind of clarity of where you need to go, like I said, it's not that hard to execute on. But coming up with that design really quickly, or being able to adapt it as you work through it and you realize something has gone wrong or something isn't as you expected, that's kind of the really hard part. And that I think is very much the same whether you're doing a financial model or solving a board game or anything.
Right, so it's really a lot of like thinking before even you start doing modeling as how you're going to approach this problem. And once you have this picture in mind, you probably go and do that, either financial modeling or just non-traditional modeling in Excel. It's pretty much the same approach, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. How do you think it's going to develop in the future? Is there like a room for growth?
Yeah, I think there's room for it to grow a lot. I mean, like you said, you think about the number of people who use it and the number of people who know enough Excel to think, maybe not to be able to solve the problem, or maybe not to be able to solve the problem in 30 minutes, but to be able to at least have a sense of what it would take, or have a sense of, enough to kind of understand what they're seeing, and kind of get that interest of, oh, hey, this guy has started building it this way, but that guy started building it the other way. And that's, it's going to be interesting to see which one of those works out, that kind of thing. I think, the number of people who know enough to understand it at that level is huge. And, I think I think what you guys have done with the format is, I remember Bill Jelen said something. His wife, who has never watched his Excel videos over many years, watched one of the rounds of the Battle of 16 or the Open, I don't remember which, and said, oh, this is super interesting, I should watch more of this. There's something very kind of compelling and gripping about, like when you see the live scores moving and you see people sweating and stressing and visibly kind of melting down as it's not working. It's very engaging.
Many people think like when you work in Excel in front of the computer, it's like a chill work. You take your coffee, you take a glass of water, and you're chilling. But when you have like 30 minutes and you need to build a model you just first time see in your life, and you have many people watching you, it's just turns out to be a nightmare. You have like a lot of pressure, right? And you have to all the time think about how to do that, because even like people are watching you. You can't really do your manual stuff that you probably would have tried at work. Now you have to Excel.
Yeah, well, it cuts both ways. When it's going well and you know that everyone is watching, it feels really good. But yeah, when it's going badly and you can't figure out why is this not giving me the answer I thought it would,
right?
Then it's stressful.
Right. Is there anything you liked about it, or you would love to see in the future, like some additionals or add-ons, or like some new features in the Excel as esports type of thing?
I mean, the thing I would love to see is like for it to be easier for people to like see exactly what's happening. So like, I think right now, it's very easy for people to see like, oh, this person's score is going up and this person's score is not going up as much. But it's like if you're, if someone is working on a big screen and you're watching it on a small little kind of YouTube video, it's not necessarily easy to figure out like, what is this person doing right now? Or even if you can see the formulas they're typing, you might not be able to realize, oh, why have they decided to do it this way? Why are they using this formula, or why are they using this structure, or something like that? I don't know how you would do it, but I think it would be like if you could sort of not just kind of sit at somebody's shoulder, but almost hear their thought process of why are they doing it this way, which you get a bit like I try to do it in the videos that I make, where I kind of explain the thought process. But I think the ideal would be able to get that kind of understanding what's going on, but also the sort of the live movements and the excitement and the stress and the problems that people haven't thought about in advance and are just seeing for the first time, to kind of blend those two. I think that would be interesting.
Right. It's like we will probably need a new feature that would read people's mind. That would help a lot. By the way, you mentioned that in your videos you try to follow your thoughts and express them in words, and this is probably what I like the most about your videos, because when you just simply do modeling, it's blind, right? But when you watch it on screen, yeah, commentators do comment, but you want to see why the person has chosen exactly this approach, not the other one. And following your YouTube channel, I've seen a few videos solving different types of battle cases and explaining them, which I found really nice. By the way, guys, I suggest everyone taking a look at Diarmuid's videos, follow his channel, and you can really learn a lot by looking at some of the experts doing this. Probably, well, if not the best way, but at least one of the best ways to do that. Because when I talk to XLMPs, they say there is always a guy in the comments who's gonna say there is a better way to do this. That's why I can't say the best way. So say one of them. So my question is, so this YouTube channel is actually, I think it's a great way of explaining videos to broad audience, because ourselves, we're the ones that creating the cases, we're kind of biased. The other people solving the cases, there was Bill Jalan creating walkthrough, which was nice. There are other people solving the cases, but seeing this from one of the top participants is really nice. My question is just, how did you come up with this idea? Because I assume you have plenty of other commitments, and you have your daily work and the family and a lot of stuff going on. Where do you find time for this, and how did you decide to do this?
Where do I find time? I mean, it's one of the nice things about being self-employed is, I don't. There was a time in my life when I would have said, "Oh, I'm self-employed. I have to get as much work as I can," and I don't really think that way anymore. And it's one of the nice things about having a sort of higher profile as a modeler is my services are not cheap, but it does mean that I can make a reasonable amount of money without working all the time. So I've got my busy seasons, but I've got quieter times as well. So it's actually not that hard to fit it in. Where did the idea come? I guess I always thought it would be a nice addition, because I always thought of like the old model off questions as kind of a learning resource, and I always kind of encouraged people to use them because, like I said, I think it's a great way to learn. But with the model off questions, it was here's the questions, here's the answers, and if your answer matches, you got it right, and if your answer doesn't match, you got it wrong, and you got to do something else, but you might not know what went wrong. And so I always thought it would be nice to have an actual walkthrough of, especially in my earlier days when I didn't have a clue sometimes why I wasn't getting the answer that I was supposed to. That it would be helpful to have that as a walkthrough. I took some inspiration from another YouTube channel that I watch a lot now called Cracking the Cryptic, which is like a channel for Sudoku puzzle solving. And the thing that inspired me about it is I'm not actually that into Sudoku. I don't particularly enjoy them, but one of the guys in particular who hosts the channel just has this amazing ability to like explain what's interesting about the puzzle, explain his thinking about how he's tackling it, and convey this like overwhelming amount of enthusiasm. Like you really get the sense of how excited he is by it. I don't think I quite managed to channel that, but that's inspiration, because it's like very compelling viewing for an extremely obscure, nerdy topic, which is kind of what I'm aiming for as well.
Yeah. Right. But that's nice. I hope that one day we're going to see Diarmuid just pass over 1 million of subscribers. And
I think that's relatively low risk, but I'll be comfortable with a small but interesting and engaged group of people is perfectly fine for me. I don't need 1 million followers.
Nice. I wish you good luck with the development. I wanted just to find out your opinion. So what is your vision on what Axel is esports, or Axel is going to be like in 5 years? How financial modeling would change? Would it switch to other type of softwares, or is it will strict to Axel, and how it's going to grow like in 5 to 10 years? So what do you see right now? How do you feel about the industry in this?
Sure. Well, let me do the esports question first, because that's probably a little narrower. The other one is very broad.
Right.
But I mean, the esports one. I mean, like I said, I think there's lots of room for it to grow. Maybe at some point we get to a place where we can actually, start gathering people together for finals of these things like Modeloff did back in the day. I think that would be pretty exciting, because it was always, like I said, one of the best parts of that was always kind of meeting other interesting people. And if there are $1 million prizes, that would certainly be welcome. Or large sponsorship deals for successful players with YouTube channels. And then in terms of financial modeling in general, I always think the answer to the question, will it be Excel or will it be other things, is mostly both. I think every few years you see the articles saying, well, Excel is dead, and this other thing is gonna. I don't believe any of that. I think it's it's extremely overblown. I think even without some of the recent developments, I think Excel is just, there's such a big network effect that everybody understands it, everybody has it. It's like the universal language of finance. I think anything that tries to replace it without having an ability to kind of export its data to Excel so someone else can kind of analyze it themselves is in for a very long, very hard fight. And like I said, that's even without all the kind of changes recently, like the Power BI, Power Query, dynamic arrays. Like I told someone recently, like I feel like I got Excel or Office 365 recently, and it's the first time I've got a new version of Excel in years and years and years, because it's the first time since like 2007 that it's felt like the product is so new and so different that you're behind if you don't have it. So that's like a big innovation. But I also think there will be lots of room for whatever it is, the Alteryxes, the Tableaus, the Pythons, the R's, etc. Like the world is too big and too complicated to say, well, everyone's just going to do it in Excel, as remarkable and flexible as it is. And I think the ecosystem will continue to grow around it.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Tim, very much for the interview. Thank you, everyone who was listening. I suggest everyone to once again follow Diarmuid's channel, follow our channel as well, put likes on the video. And thank you, everyone. I hope your channel, Dim, is going to be growing in the future. I wish you good luck into the next season of 2022.
Starting very soon.
yeah. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks for having me. Take care.